welcome back to my channel. I am continuing on with the bread making, with the sourdough bread making. So I still don't have my microphone. I think that's coming in tomorrow maybe. I am trying to record a little bit closer to the phone, so hopefully this is a little louder. But here I am just putting that starter that I made yesterday into the dish, into the KitchenAid, and then I'm adding a cup and a quarter. Let me see. No, not a cup and a quarter. I'm adding 2/3 cup of all-purpose unbleached organic flour. It's the unbleached that's important, not the type of flour. And I'm adding 4 tablespoons of water here. So it's that sourdough starter ripped up and put into the bin with 2/3 cup of flour and 4 tablespoons of water. And I'm just going to mix that. And I did that 4 times over, so I like super high-speeded this next section of the video. So enjoy that, real high speed. Here I'm just adding like just a few more drops of water because the dough looked really rough still. It wasn't coming together. So depending on where you live, your humidity level, that kind of stuff, you're going to have to just adjust a little bit here and there. So I will show you what your dough should look like when it's ready once I pull it out of here. And you got to see me make some coffee because it was really early in the morning. So if I'm not ready to use the starter, I will just stick it in the fridge, and then I'll use it the next morning when I have time to deal with it. So it should still be that same rough biscuit-like consistency, but none of the flour should really be falling away from it. So here you can just see me doing that whole process over again. Just getting the oil ready to spray the tops of the dough balls when I'm done. So this is like step 2. I'm just increasing the starter again so that I have more dough to work with. I'll get bigger loaves out of this. And there's the cat. And you'll probably see my vacuum going around in the back too. So I just do this process 4 times over. So I put this on 10 times speed so it wouldn't be super boring. Have not figured out how to put music in the background of like also a voiceover. So this is going to be a process of me also learning how to edit YouTube videos. So you guys get to be my guinea pigs. Congratulations, and you're welcome. And now I'm just showing you that all I did was increase that. So now those have rested for, I want to say 4 hours, something like that. They've doubled in size, so about 4 hours. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a cup and a quarter measurements out because I'm going to take each of those starter dough balls and I'm going to add them to this flour water mixture. But I'm going to do the flour water mixture first. So this is a cup and a quarter of flour and 2/3 cup of water. And remember that you want this water to either be spring water or distilled water. You do not want to use any water with chlorine in it. If you don't have access to spring or distilled water, you can use tap water, but let it sit out overnight so all the chlorine has off-gassed and is no longer active. So all I'm going to do is just mix this flour water mixture for maybe 2 minutes, maybe not even that long. And I'm going to scrape out the bowl, and I'm going to put that flour and water into a greased mixing bowl. And then I'm going to let that rest for about 20 minutes. And what that is going to do is that is going to activate the gluten in the flour. So if you're doing with this gluten-free flour, you don't have to do this step. I don't really like the results that gluten-free flour does for sourdough. I have lots of friends that do it, and they love it. I'm just not a big fan. Plus, we're not gluten sensitive in this house, so we just don't do that. So anyways, I'm going to do this process 4 times over since I'm doing 4 loaves. So I put this on 10 times speed. And you'll see me going back and forth to the sink to wash my hands. And you'll probably see my son, who is supposed to be writing an essay, and he's procrastinating in the background. So I'm just transferring each of those flour water mixtures into mixing bowls. And then I let those rest for 20 minutes and covered them with a towel. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rip one of those starters, so you can see how much it's grown. So it's about doubled in size, and it's real gooey, real stretchy. So I want to rip that up into pieces, and I just place it in the mixing bowl. And then the reason that I mix that, or I rip that up into pieces, is just so it mixes a little more evenly with the flour water mixture. So you're going to put 1 bowl of starter and 1 bowl of the flour water mixture into your KitchenAid. You can do this by hand too. I'm just lazy. I don't want to do it by hand, so I use the KitchenAid. And I need that for, I think, 2 minutes. Let's see here. I've got some salt on hand. So all it takes to make sourdough is flour, water, and salt, and time, and patience. That's all it really takes. So yeah, I'm setting the timer for 2 minutes. I'm going to let that knead together for 2 minutes. And all that's going to do is it's going to incorporate the sourdough starter into that flour water mixture, and it's going to continue to develop those gluten bonds, which is what's going to give you that nice fluffy, see there's my signal for 2 minutes. It's going to give you that nice fluffy texture. So I did some creative editing here. It's been 2 minutes. I'm now adding a teaspoon of salt. I like the pink salt, but you can use any salt as long as it's not iodized. And then I set the timer for 3 minutes. So now I'm going to let the salt mix in with the dough for 3 minutes. And what this is going to do is it's going to make it super, super elastic. And I'm doing this at like medium speed. Oh, there's my 3-minute signal. And so movie magic, that's done. And I'm going to do this whole process again 4 times over. 2 minutes mixing, add salt, 3 minutes mixing, put back into the mixing, like back into the bowl. So once all 4 of these loaves are done, or once all 4 of these mixes are done, I'm going to let them rest for an hour covered. So a lot of the time that's involved with sourdough is just downtime. It's like waiting for the dough to rise or waiting for the gluten to develop. So it looks complicated, but it's really not. It's pretty simple once you've done it a couple times. So after you've let the dough rest for an hour, rise for an hour, it's going to look like this. It's going to be kind of scraggly, sticky. You don't want it too wet or too dry. So if it feels real, real sticky, you want to add a little flour. If it feels real, real dry, you want to add a little water. And just a little bit, not a whole lot. So all I'm doing here is just folding the dough, kind of turning it in on itself and rolling it over until I get a good skin on it. And I can't describe this. You'll know it when you feel it. When you've done enough sourdough, you'll know it. So you just kind of like fold the dough, round it in on itself until it's got this shiny skin. And then you put it back in the dish, pat it down a little bit, and you do that for each of them. And there's no scientific way for me to explain this to you. It's all by feel. And the more you do it, the more you'll know what it's supposed to feel like. And again, I'm letting that rest for another hour, spraying these because this is going to be the final rise. So that just rose for an hour. Now I'm putting only 1 into a banneton, and the other 3 loaves I'm putting into bread loaf pans because we typically use this as sandwich bread, but I do like to have one as a very traditional sourdough. So now I'm going to cover these and they're going to rise.